Welcome back. Remember the whole DeepSeek drama? OpenAI is now raising some red flags over another emerging Chinese startup. They say it's an even bigger threat to U.S. AI dominance than DeepSeek potentially is or was. Deirdre Bosa has those details in today's Tech Check. Do tell, Deirdre.
So, Kelly, the startup, it's called Jipu AI, and it's part of China's class of so-called AI tigers that include companies like DeepSeek, 01.ai, and Moonshot. These are startups that Beijing is pushing to compete globally. Now, in a post that is part of its Global Affairs blog, OpenAI writes that Jipu is a frontline threat in China's push to dominate AI. Like a Huawei before it in the networking era, Jipu is offering turnkey AI infrastructure solutions beyond China, across Southeast Asia, the Middle East, Africa, and even the UK, places where Washington is competing to entrench its own American standards. But unlike a DeepSeek or a Huawei, the claims may be overblown. Jipu is struggling at home. It is reportedly losing money, and it's lost favored status in Beijing to DeepSeek, which makes us look a little more like a well-timed warning from OpenAI and Sam Altman, designed perhaps to serve their own interests. Jipu gives OpenAI the perfect foil to frame the choice for lawmakers and allies as back us or risk ceding to Beijing. But the potentially more important impact may be what Jipu represents, Kelly, and that is the increasing adoption of Chinese open source models globally at a time when Meta, once the West's biggest open source advocate, may now reportedly be moving the other way towards closed source. And that is really a key shift here, because while China is now giving away powerful AI for free, open source models are free and they can be adopted very quickly, the West may be pulling back, and that means that the next generation of AI could be built on Chinese code. So this story is broader than just Jipu, but Jipu is another indication that this race is still extremely competitive and doesn't really have an endpoint.
Sorry, Deirdre, if I missed it. What is Jipu's product name? What's it called? And are people in the U.S. using it?
Nope. It's not in the U.S., but it's in Southeast Asia, the Middle East, even in the U.K., and they're really focusing on enterprise products. But at the heart of it, so it doesn't have like a consumer-facing app like a DeepSeek or a ChatGPT, although it does have some consumer products. But at the heart of it, it's deploying open source models. So you kind of get around the hardware issue, right? If you use an open source model, you can use them on NVIDIA GPUs.
Got it. So we asked Ivan Serini, who's been on the show a number of times, of Faroot, what he thought about the security implications of this. He didn't mince words. He says Jipu's close ties with the government of China and its military pose risks to American security, directly supports Beijing's military modernization through AI, and puts our data privacy and national interests at risk. So, in other words, if you hear about this product, U.S. companies, he's saying be very, very careful before you just think, you know what, this is kind of a free open source model that we could use.
But Kelly, people said the same thing about DeepSeek, and that has not stopped or slowed down its adoption because it's open source. You don't actually have to keep anything on Chinese clouds or with the Chinese government. The whole thing about this is that because it's open source, it's free to download and tweak and use to serve your own purposes. So Jipu could be another sort of idea of that. Like, yes, it's a Trojan horse if you host it in China, but the whole thing with open source models and why this is so important is because you can actually just bring it to whatever country you want, whatever servers you want, and not have that China risk.
I think we need to get him on and continue that, because there's a lot at stake here. It's very interesting. Deirdre, thanks for bringing it to our attention. Deirdre Bosa.